This is going to be a video where you either all disagree or agree. This is how Doctor Who ruined the Daleks, the quintessential villain of the show. Before we get into today's video, I just want to reiterate, these are just my opinions. You don't have to agree with this, but I think although the Daleks are some of the best written villains in sci-fi, I feel like as of recently, they've been tainted a little bit. Again, we are only going to be focusing on New Who and anything that's been put onto TV, so no external media like Big Finish, but if you want to see videos where I cover classic Who and external media, because I love all of it, then drop a like and drop a comment. But one of my first things that I want to speak about, in similar vein to Regeneration, the Master, and the Cybermen, I think the Daleks have become heavily overused and heavily oversaturated. Now, I genuinely can give the Daleks a lot more leeway here than maybe the Master or the Cybermen or the overuse of Regeneration, because they are the main villains of the show. I expect to see them a lot more than I do with the Master, the Cybermen, and Regeneration. However, that doesn't stop unnecessary cameos and seeing them nearly every season. There's been a myth going around since I could remember that the Daleks are contractually obligated to be in every series of the show. This is false. Showrunners and writers just choose to put them in every series of the show, and I'm going to assume it's because they're iconic villains of the show. I think them having cameos here and there is great for world building. I think it creates a sense that the Doctor Who world is real and it's all interconnected. However, I don't think it's necessary to see them every single series, and it lessens the effects of when they do appear. You don't feel scared anymore because, again, like the Cybermen, and like the Master, and like Regeneration at this point, you're kind of expecting it. I'm not kidding when I say this, by the way. In every single series of New Who, if it's a cameo or a full-fledged episode, the Daleks appear. In every single series of New Who, all 13 series, they appear. Sometimes they appear multiple times, sometimes it's just a cameo, or sometimes it's just a one-off episode, but they do appear, constantly. And I think if they use them well enough, it's fine, but I'm just kind of sick and tired of seeing them constantly. I feel like the Cybermen and like the Master, a couple of years without them would be great. Because when they return, it's going to be exciting, it's going to be scary, and you know they're going to put their best into making a great Dalek story. Instead of scrapping for ideas constantly, because they feel like they need to put them in every single series. Which is something that I don't know if a lot of people have noticed, but the story for the Daleks as of recently has become very stale and boring. From Series 1 to Series 5, it was a cohesive story. Each episode of the Daleks it featured kept building onto each other. It felt like a fluent story of the Daleks trying to regain power slowly from the Time War, and it was great. Each episode, from the Dalek to Victory of the Dalek, built on each other, and it was a great fluent story. It was just an easy, brilliant story for TV viewers to follow. The rise of the Daleks yet again after the Time War. Something that, yes, it had loads of expanded media, but it wasn't necessary to view or listen to get the full story. Whereas now, that feels like you have to do. You have to watch the expanded media to know how they got from one point to the other, which I don't personally like, and I feel like that sort of taints it for just TV goers. The quality of the Daleks over the past 10 years have declined horrifically as well. Take the Paradigm Dalek story, for example. They were introduced in the Victory of the Daleks, and they were brilliant there. And then, they just disappeared. They were in a couple more episodes before they were completely wiped, and that was due to audiences not liking them, due to their colours and how it just felt a bit off. And since this, to be honest, we haven't really seen another interconnecting Dalek arc, unless you include Resolution and Revolution, which, great, they were great episodes, but then the third episode, which was meant to be the finale of them, didn't probably connect at all. It was just another bog-standard Dalek episode. One thing I do appreciate due to Resolution and Revolution is we got a brand new Dalek design, but even then it was quickly wiped off the board. They looked great, they sounded great, but the Bronze Time War Daleks exterminated them.
Dalek, incorrect. Scan detects anomalies. Dalek DNA merged with human traces. We have mutated to survive. You are impure. The Dalek race must have purity. Exterminate! Exterminate the impurities! Exterminate the impurities!
And just like that, really, they were gone. This brand new Dalek type, which seemed so menacing and exterminated so many people on screen so quickly, was just gone. It felt underwhelming, and it feels like showrunners and writers are too scared to introduce a brand new Dalek type which isn't the Bronze Time War Dalek, which is really frustrating for fans of classic Who are very used to Dalek designs constantly changing. And they're great, they look great, and I don't know why we can't see more of that. Now, of course, a lot of these issues, again, are easily fixable, but there's something that I just don't think the show will fix. I don't think they're going to stop using the Daleks for a couple of years because they are the show's biggest villain and the most well-known villain. Probably one of the most well-known villains ever. But here are some ways that I'd like to suggest to improve the Daleks. I'd like to see a couple of episodes where the Daleks actually win. They actually defeat the Doctor, and the Doctor's hopeless. Of course, probably eventually he's going to end up saving the day anyway, but I'd just like to see a two-parter where the Daleks finally get one over on the Doctor. We saw this during Series 1 to Series 4 where the Daleks were at the height of their power. They basically got the Doctor dead to rights in Bad Wolf, but Rose came and saved the day. And that's something that I'd like to see more of, is the Daleks being shown at the height of their power and how they're bigged up to be. Because on screen as of recently, the Daleks are hyped up as these scary villains who have taken over planets and worlds and are the most evil creatures in the world in Doctor Who. But then when we come to see them, they're quite weak, they're not that powerful, and the Doctor easily defeats them. Which of course the Doctor's got to defeat them in some way or another, but I'd like to see the Daleks be a bit more of an actual villain, an actual hard threat, rather than just an everyday villain the Doctor just defeats.
Oh. What do the Daleks do when they're too scared?
The Predator of the Daleks will be deployed.
You don't have a Predator, and even if you did, why would they turn off a force field for you?
Because you will have no other means of escape.
May I clarify? The Predator is a Dalek's word for you.
Another thing I'd like to see is them to get rid of convoluted plot points. Like the Daleks forgetting who the Doctor is. Of course, eventually they remembered who the Doctor is, but I don't like that. Again, I feel like that ruined the characterization of the Daleks and the Doctor's relationship. The Daleks are meant to be the Doctor's biggest enemy, and the Doctor the Daleks' biggest enemy. And to do that felt kind of tasteless, and something I still personally haven't gotten over in the show. Something else I'd like to see is more variation within the colour of the Daleks and the Dalek design. No more bronze Daleks from the Time War. We're out of the Time War era. I want to see different Daleks. I want to see different Dalek characterizations as well. I want it to be maybe a bit more like Classic Who. Maybe even the Doctor stumbles upon some more classic Daleks, like in The Witch's Familiar. We see some older Dalek types come back, which I think would just be genuinely great. I think this would help feel like the Daleks are on a new path and they're doing new things, instead of it just being a boring old new Who story. Because that's what it is with the Daleks. It just feels like they're the exact same story, the exact same ending, the exact same replayed moments. Where if we have maybe a new design, it might spruce up the Daleks a bit. It might give some more creativity to the Daleks in the show, which is something I feel like it's severely lacking right now. Dalek stories right now are pretty boring.
Of Earth society will soon occur.
Your duplicate's unstable, it won't work.
The Daleks will triumph.
But hey, at the end of the day, these are just my opinions and my thoughts on why Doctor Who has kind of tainted the Daleks a little bit and what they can do to improve them. Of course, if you have different opinions, please comment down below, and comment down below what you would like to see with the Daleks. But I've been your host Samuel, and I'll catch you in the next Samuel Who video.